The Dallas Mavericks have come to a verbal agreement with 25-year-old point guard Gal Mekel out of Israel to a 3-year league minimum deal. I'm Kerry Chow, joined by ESPN.com NBA reporter Marc Stein. Marc, who does Mekel's play remind you of?
Well, he's a strong pick-and-roll point guard. He's got a lot of size, too. I don't know if there's a direct NBA comparison yet because we got to see him more in our environment to see how his game translates to the NBA. But he's really announced himself as an NBA prospect in a hurry here. He was invited to Utah's camp last October, but visa issues prevented him from taking up that invitation. So he went back home to Israel, played for Maccabi Haifa, one of the smaller clubs in Israel, and led them to the Israeli championship against Maccabi Tel Aviv, which is a perennial qualifier for the EuroLeague Final Four. That's a massive, massive upset in European basketball, and really the way he played all year kind of got him on the radar. He had a couple great workouts, one with the Milwaukee Bucks, another with the Mavs, kind of auditions, and he did so well in those that it just became apparent that he was going to get a deal, and he had 4 or 5 teams after him pretty hard. So from the Mavs' perspective, anyone who's good at the pick and roll is someone who appeals to them because that's obviously Dirk Nowitzki's game. But he's got size. He's a big point guard. He's a strong point guard, and he really knows how to lead a team and run the game. So he's going to have to prove he can do it at the NBA level, and, of course, there's going to be a significant transition there. It's going to be interesting to kind of see how he develops.
Yeah, you mentioned point guard. The Mavs also got Shane Larkin out of Miami via the draft. So what are the Mavs' plans for these two guys?
Yeah, they're really excited about Larkin as well, and Larkin is a different kind of player, also very good in the pick and roll, but extremely quick, small, obviously. The size is why Larkin was available at 18, but the Mavs want to get younger in the backcourt. They want to get players who are good pick and roll players, and now they have 2. They're realistic, though. Neither one of these guys is a contender to start at the position. They know that when free agency ends, they're going to have to acquire a veteran to start and hope that one or both of these guys develops into a solid rotation player. But the Mavs are pretty confident that both of them actually can and will become rotation players they can depend on. Point guard was such a problem position for the Mavericks last season, and they're basically overhauling it completely now. Darren Collison is not coming back. Rodrigue Beaubois is unlikely to come back. I do think there's a chance veteran Mike James is back, and he kind of solidified the position late in the season. But there's going to be a new starter in Dallas, and these two guys, Larkin and Mekel, they are the understudies that they'll be working on developing.
All right, a big question in Dallas is, of course, surrounding Dwight Howard, the Mavericks trying to acquire Mr. Howard. How does this deal, the Mekel deal, affect the Dwight sweepstakes?
It's important to the Mavs because if they're fortunate enough to get Dwight, or even if they're not and they have to turn their attentions elsewhere to spend their salary cap space on other players, either through signings or trades, they know they're going to have to sign multiple quality players at the minimum salary to fill out their roster. And so the fact that Mekel was willing to commit to a minimum salary, that convinced the Mavs to commit to a longer-term deal to make sure he would say yes and kind of beat off the competition. But now the Mavs know that a player they like, they can, once you've used up all your cap space, you can sign as many guys as you want to the minimum. So knowing they have Mekel's verbal commitment means they can go out, they can play all their free agency cards. Maybe they get Dwight, maybe they don't, maybe they make a trade. Whatever they do, they know that after all the big moves, they can sign Mekel. They can formally sign him. He's agreed to a minimum deal, and they know that a promising young guard they like is in the fold. So it's just a level of reassurance that the Mavs welcome, knowing that a guy they've been targeting is already in the fold, so to speak.
That's ESPN.com NBA writer Marc Stein. He's got answers, and for all the latest free agency news, be sure to keep it on the ESPN NBA homepage. I'm Kerry Chow with your latest ESPN headline.